Chapter 3, Windows 98 was the operating system I was using. So I decided to move to Windows XP, but before I done that, I received on a number of occasions. The very first one I received was a computer Trojan on Windows 98. When I asked my friend at that time what a Trojan program was, he didn't want to know. I can't tell you that. Exact words were, I can't tell you that. I don't want that in my computer. Or I don't want them in my computer, something to that effect. But I looked at him amazed. So I had learned how to use Google at that time, so I typed in Trojan. And I'd come up with a lot of different websites. Trojan this, Trojan that. So I wrote in, what is a Trojan, or a computer Trojan. So I started to read up on what a computer Trojan was. So it took me months to understand what a computer Trojan was, what a computer virus was, and what a computer worm was. In the process while learning, my CD-ROM tray was opening and closing, and it was starting to mess about with my mind. When I started to explain to some of my family members at that time who knew nothing about computers, I got the impression that they were starting to think to themselves, there's something wrong with his head, he's losing it. A few times I thought that myself. I was annoyed at times. It gave me a lot of stress in my life and affected my life, because I was also watching my security, because I was in the security forces at one time, and I had been out a number of years and had still been targeted by terrorist organisations. So I had quite a lot of pressure on my mind, and I knew that my father wasn't well either, and so a lot of things were building up. I thought I was starting to lose it myself, as I was under a lot of stress. And many a time I felt like giving the computer up, hitting it with a hammer, but I decided, no, I'm going to learn. At that time I was using Windows 98, had a 2 GB hard drive in. Then I moved to a 6 GB hard drive, and I started to use Windows XP. At that time it was Windows XP Upgrade. I went out and bought, I believe I paid £96 for, and it took me a long time to get the money. Now, at that time I didn't understand how to clean the hard drive. I didn't understand how to recover the system if it crashed. So I was desperate for knowledge. This whole episode went on for approximately 5 years, week in and week out. As the time moved on, he used another young chap that lived beside me, and he got him to do his dirty work for him too. Of course, today when I look back at it, the two of them thought it was a bit of fun, and when I contacted the local police about it, they basically didn't understand, or they didn't want to know, which was the RUC then. Not that I don't think it would make any difference whether it was the PNSI or the RUC. How do you know this and how do you know that? Well, as time moved on, my hard drives got damaged. I had to replace them. My wife took the hard drive to Portadown to a computer shop and got it formatted, which I understand is cleaned the hard drive. Because I didn't know how to format, it was costing me £20 a time. It's money that we hadn't got, and it caused quite a number of distressful moments within the family life, because I didn't want to be seen, you know, this computer means more to me than my family, because it didn't. So, a hard drive, you will see an image here. Probably not the 6 GB one that I was using then, or the 10 GB one. At that time there was no such thing as a 500 gig or 60 gig hard drive. It was a Maxtor hard drive I was using then. I remember the name of it very clear. The memory was 128 memory, which a lot of people know was DIMM. It wasn't DDR3 then, it was DDR2. So over a period of about a year and a half, a guy was working in a computer shop and he called me to one side, and he'd realised that I'd been in and out and was costing quite a large amount of money. And I asked him how to format it, so he told me. So I was able to save myself a few pounds in formatting the computer. When I went to England on a break to the brothers, I called into a computer shop and I inquired about what is the best way to format, and I was introduced to what they call a low-level format. I was also introduced what they call a computer debugging. So I started to gain that wee bit more knowledge. We're into 2.5 years and I was able to clean my computer. But unfortunately I had to clean it really every week in the year. Because at that time I was still trying to understand what was a computer trojan. And when you Google and research computer trojans, you will see that there's quite a number of names. The Sub7 Trojan was the one that I was getting pretty regular. So I had to try and find out how to remove these Trojans off my computer. And I come across a program called Trojan Try, which I don't believe it's available on the internet at the minute, but there is a Trojan remover program available. So I decided to run this program. And while I was running this program, I moved the computer upstairs, thinking that if I moved it further around the house, it'd be harder for them to get. So while I was outside having a smoke outside my front door one day, the neighbour turned around and his son was talking, his father and son, and he says, "It's okay, Dad, I know the frequencies for the computers." And I paid no attention, so I went over for a nosy, but they started to hide it, which I believe today is some sort of a computer way of scanning your computer, because I do now, because I've learned that much. I really went into that deep, not only about computer protection, but also how to use different types of programs for Photoshop, Fireworks, Website Builder, Dreamweaver, and etc. So I've learned quite a bit of knowledge over the years. I've also learned how to find a Trojan and how to remove it. The reason I decided to do this video is because someone out there could be on or has experienced the same thing as I went through. Now, to get help, friends, if you believe someone's hacking your computer, it is a bad thing to wipe your computer, because basically you're taking the evidence away. My advice would be, if you don't know anything about a computer, is take it to someone that does and ask them, is there evidence on the computer that there'd be any chance of them saving it for you or getting it printed out, which you could produce to the police, or give them some sort of an indication to the authorities that you are being hacked, because hacking is illegal. Now, quite a number of guys do hack, and there is quite a number of guys that will help you, because I understand now today that hackers, some of them are good guys, and some of them actually hack for security companies to find out the weakness in programs and etc. But this has took me to 2011, the knowledge that I have today. I decided after quite a number of years to call myself PC Careman, because I care about my computer. And I decided to put a website up. Not the best website in the world, but I also learned a wee bit about how to build websites over the years, because on a daily basis as a hobby, I started to learn things that even technical guys work for internet service providers don't know, because I went into that deep. In the next chapter, we'll give you an idea of exactly what I do know about computers today, and I'm still learning as the days go on. If you don't know anything about computers, you're going to bring somebody in, which I did do. I brought a professional in to check my computer, and he asked me what I knew, and he says that this is about 4 years in, and he says that you know more than what I do. To be honest with you, there's nothing I can find on the computer. I did go to my telephone supplier, which they were very good and helped me at that time. They asked me did I have a firewall on, which I told them I did. They understood how firewall works, how it filters the traffic from the database of the program. Now, if you had asked me these questions when I first started, I wouldn't have had a clue. So yes, friends, I learned the hard way. And yes, friends, I do help as many people as I can, because I do understand what it's like for your computer to crash when you haven't got the money to repair it. And in a return, all I ask for is support. So as I was browsing through the years, I come across a website called GRC website, and I found a feedback form. I played it and I wrote, what is a host file, what is this, what is that, what's how do I sort out my networking, how do I secure my router, how do I passwords, and etc. You think of it, friends. I wrote. I didn't get a direct reply, but I did notice that after 5 years, I did notice that these podcasts on GRC website were starting to appear. And believe it or not, the questions that I was looking to know started to appear as the podcast moved on. So I started to learn. And I started to take notes, and I started to research on the notes. Now, there's still quite a large number of knowledge up today I have to learn. But I can assure you one thing. I know how a computer port works. I know how many ports there is in a computer. And I know what traffic goes in and out of them. I know how to snip the traffic and tell whether it's dead packets or etc. I also know how to trace internet protocols, how to reverse them, how to find out where the emails come from, and how to trace and etc. like that. I also know how to hide my IP, how to hide my MAC address, secure my password, secure my router, and secure my service ports on my computer. Now, Windows XP came out at that time. It had quite a number of service ports which sit basically in their control panel under administrator and under services. Some of these services I started to realise as Microsoft was supplying the updates for Windows XP Home Edition and Professional, that some of the updates were actually closing the services because they had become a vulnerability. At that time I found out the hard way that the so-called friends were using a service to gain access to my port. As soon as I switched my dial-up on, which I was dial-up then, it wasn't broadband, it was dial-up, and as soon as I turned on my computer, within 2 seconds, whoa, my system was hit. So I left my kitchen window open in my kitchen today, and I still believe the guys don't know because I never told them. And all of a sudden, one of the guys that was helping the so-called friend across the road, his sister says, "Come quick, Jordy's on the computer." And I was amazed. I says, "How do they know I'm on my computer? There must be a Trojan, there must be something." So I scanned my system, I couldn't find anything, but yet of all they knew. So I contacted my telephone communication system. I complained, I told them I'd go to the papers and let people know what's going on. It wasn't secure. They sent an engineer down on 2 monitors. I asked a friend of mine who was a counsellor, which I can't name for legal reasons, to come down because I believed he was a bit more experienced in communicating with people than what I was, and because of his job. He didn't say anything, he sat there and listened. He asked them to help me. They sent a guy down to my house with surveillance equipment. So I looked at the box and said, "Police surveillance." So I says to myself, I wonder, is this house bugged or something? Maybe somebody lived in it before because of the troubles in Northern Ireland. So you can imagine what was going through my head. And I couldn't get any help from my family at that time because, in my opinion, they were thinking I was nuts. I was paranoid. Well, anyhow, friends, I found all these malicious software. I didn't get any help from the local police because basically I was told on the records, or I was told in a way that they had a computer security team, but they didn't have them on part at that time. Obviously, I wasn't a business person, which I believe today. Otherwise, I could have got help. I saved all the data and information. I sent it to the police ombudsman when they first started up. I got a reply back saying there's no evidence there, there's nothing they could do. I believe that someone's covering for someone because the so-called friend's brother was a police officer, and I'm hoping I can't accuse him. I'm hoping that he wasn't covering for him. So I decided to use my telephone to change my passwords with my ISP. And even when I changed my passwords by my telephone with my ISP, they were still compromised. So then I switched to my TV system where I was able to do my emails on my TV. So if I got an infection then, obviously I wasn't worried about it because I wasn't getting it on the computer. On my way out for a walk, I noticed the so-called friend on his hands and knees with some sort of a scanner pointed towards my house. I went out and I bought a scanner when I moved house because I couldn't get peace. £200. As soon as I switched it on, I could hear telephone calls. So then I started to realise that he was able to pick up the wireless frequency of a cordless telephone and listen to my conversations and write the passwords down. So yes, friends, this is how far it went. Everything that they threw at me, I researched it and I had to learn on my own. Unfortunately, I didn't have Skype on, I didn't have any friends to help me. I had to pay for myself, and this cost me, believe it or not, quite a few £100s. I spoke to a guy who offered to supply me with a router, a hardware firewall router at £1,000, which I didn't have. So I decided enough was enough, and because of the neighbours beside me, I wasn't getting any peace to live, I was going to move. I moved and I got 2 weeks peace. I thought it was great to use my computer because I only wanted to use it to learn and to let my kids use it. Obviously, because I suffered from computer abuse that much, they didn't want me to do it. I downloaded a program called Black Ice Defender and I started to block these IPs that were coming in as alerts. And within about 5 minutes, a guy beside me walked down the back and he shouts, "Don't worry, we'll get into your computer, you'll not stop us." So obviously, because I've moved, the guy that lived beside me, his son, was hanging about with a person in Lurgan. And he was passing the equipment that he had onto him to keep this continuing. The reason this was all done was because over the so-called friend trying to hack my computer and because I blocked him. I started to search the internet for a few small tools to try and stop them and gather as much information as possible. At that time I'd moved a 20 gig hard drive and owned up handling for a computer. So I started to buy one desktop, paid off, buy another, paid off, and etc. because I wasn't drinking. So I decided, this is a hobby, I'm learning. At that time I went broadband when it first came out, and I was still getting hit because my router system wasn't secure, so I had to find out how to secure it. My friends, I had to do this all on my own. That's a computer worm you see in the image, that's a computer virus. It's an image from Google. So chapter 3, friends, this is telling you what I went through. In the next chapter I will tell you exactly how I was able to stop this, how I was able to catch them. Now, it doesn't always work because it is very hard to prove if someone's hacking your system. Obviously, if you've got a business and you report it, sometimes they will send what they call a computer crime squad to your business, and sometimes they're able to get information off your computer to take legal action. I got help, friends, but I didn't get help from anybody in Northern Ireland. And in the next chapter, I will tell you how I got help. But I did learn quite a number of things. Today, I'm able to use Mac computer, no my way around it. I'm able to use Linux, all the different distros, no my way around them. Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows Vista. I'm able to protect myself. I'm able to scan, I'm able to sniff my traffic. There's quite a lot of things I've learned. And to find out what I have learned, if you go to YouTube and type in Justin TV PC Careman, you'll see 160 videos I've already done with the help of a few friends on browsers, programs, and etc. Please, friends, watch the videos and you will learn. Go to TRC website, Steve Gibson, Security Now. Listen to his podcasts, one a day or one a week, and you will learn. My advice is take a notebook with you and write down what you think is important. Like the name of a worm, so you can go and research that worm and find out exactly what it does. Find out how it's put on your computer and find out how to remove it. Because if you have plenty of money and you want to give it away and pay people to do it, that's your choice. But I am called PC Careman on the internet for one reason. I care and I help. And that's why I'm called PC Careman. That's the name I chose one day by sitting. Is it worth it? Is it worth it in computers? Well, there's two ways of looking at it. If I had it through the computers out and forgot it, I wouldn't have learned as much as I have today. I have learned the understanding of hacking and why people hack or to find a weakness in the program. You also have script kiddies, some people call them malicious, that use programs to attack your system. Now your internet service provider is supposed to protect so many ports on your computer. You're responsible for the rest. I've also learned how to talk to my internet service provider if my internet speed's not right, if it's not going the way it should be. I also know exactly what my line takes and what I'm expecting of them and what I pay for. Today, thank God, they can't tell me what they want to tell me because I learned the hard way. Please listen to chapter